baby. I gotta answer the phone. Peace, sis. Before yet. Oh, what's that? What? What you say? Warren Horizon's going to be in Philly. Who's bringing them out? Time for an awakening and legacy of a nation. Oh, I gotta be there. Tell me more. When they're coming? Saturday, May 25th. Let me get a pen and paper, sis, because you know I gotta write this down. All right. So go ahead. So you said War on the Horizon's very own Irritated Genie's going to be live in Philly on Saturday, May 25th. Where's it going to take place? The Sunhigh City Cultural Center, 3117 West Maxter Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19107. Okay, I got it. Now, let me ask you this. What's he going to be talking about? Where's your black God? Oh, wow. That's a question everybody's been trying to answer. I need to be there. I want to get it. I want to know where my own black God is. I've got to be there for that. Wow, well, how much does it cost? Donations are accepted? Oh, I can definitely do that. That way I can bring my whole family. Well, how do I get more information about this? Oh, okay. So I got to call 267-205-1570 or 215-236-7410. Let me go over that one more time just to make sure I got it right. 267-205-1570 or 215-236-7410. I got it. Man, so you said the Irritated Genie of Warren Horizon live in the Philadelphia, live in Philly on Saturday, May 25th. I gotta be there. As a matter of fact, as they say on Warren Horizon, you gotta be there.
Q&A session started.
Execution style murder. They have no remorse cause they submit of murderers. Haven't you ever heard of a cracker? But of course, cause that's your master. See, I walk around black. Tom's got they back, they necks is getting snatched. Snap, react to this revolutionary rapper. This is your first chapter. In the book, out the brook. To this day, they still mention they ass got to die. Cracker, tell me how the most you gather. My YaaYaa will let you live or even get captured. My bulldog sound shakes the ground. My hollow points pierce your crown. For what I said, pierce your head. Cause now I'm probably wanted by the feds. But I refuse to live in fear. So I'm planning to kill crackers like I'm King Samir. It's black power. It's that brother Bomani mask, murdering crackers. It's what you feel like you want to get caught up. Pack of wolves better recognize. Not the front came to chastise. So if you cross US, remember the penalty is death. No love for the other side. Yeah, I roll with the ambassador. Bullets and crackers in the bladder, just like a catheter. Crackers getting massacred, repping for Mama Africa. Can't wait to blast you up. I mention the split your wig up, can't pull this trigger fast enough. Catch a devil in my hood, he won't get robbed. I study with my mind on the books like a legit job. Over Wally and Bomani, that's a big problem. When we pull a pin out like grenades and we spit bombs. Uncle Tom, you stand up and pledge allegiance while I stay inside my seat like I was paraplegic. Bring pressure like a tourniquet. Killer cracker tournament for the love of the sport. My trainer thought it's like Conor Ferguson's. Yeah. Brother Quinley, bring the burners in. The rest of these dudes, big boys who never turn them in. You a sleaze bag, rockin' lip gloss and pink knee pads. You claim you spit crack, I spit rehab. Sharpshooter in New York like I was J.R. Smith. But I shoot crackers, I'm reppin' for Trayvon, bitch. And once I let the AR spit, all you hear is black, black until that AR click. No hesitation, I will spray y'all quick. Looking round inside the AR, all this crayon. That's how we stay alive. Kill crackers or be killed. That's how our brothers survive. It's black power.
good evening, Black people, Black family. This is Sister YaaYaa, and you're listening to A Taste of the Southwest. We really appreciate everybody listening out this evening. I know we had a little break the last time we should have had a show 2 Sundays ago. But, you know, we're glad to be back this week. And a lot of things have happened in that time. But one thing I wanted to mention, I know yesterday was the book signing and the War on the Horizon. How do you say it? Ooh. Anyway, War on the Horizon was in Detroit, looking for all the perfect words, yesterday. So shout out to everybody out there who got some good WOH out in the Midwest. I know that was a great time. And we're just glad to be here. A lot of things, like I said, have happened. Today is Malcolm X's birthday. And, of course, we have to celebrate that in light of the assassination of his grandson. I believe it was last week. So, you know, conscious people, we've been going through a lot. And then, you know, they're starting to, the heat's turning up on us as a group now, more than ever. Because he's always kind of been on us. But, you know, we got to stay strong, and we have to stay on our post. We have to stay on our square and do what we're supposed to be doing as African people, in light of what all is going on and amongst people who aren't aware that they're African. And that kind of brings me to the topic for today, which is, you know, I don't have like a real catchy title or anything for it, but it was a great concern of mine for a lot of reasons. How to reach people with whatever your message is. Because, you know, we all are gifted to do many different things. Hopefully we all have the same purpose and the same basic message, which is African liberation, or just freedom and the ability to live your life free as an African person. And everybody should be able to enjoy that, I feel. Honestly and obviously, I know everyone is not going to come along with us. We're not going to be able to reach everybody. So I do understand that, but I think that we can pay very close attention to things that maybe we can do, change, get better at reaching more and more of our people who are hurt, who are sick, and who are dying in other than Africanness, if you will. And I kind of wanted to start out, you know, the last show that we did on the Taste of the Southwest was Hating Yourself to Death, I believe. And something very interesting happened in the week after I did that show. I was sitting down with my two, they're like my nieces, basically. Very close with them. They're sisters. One is 13 and one is 4. So I'm sitting down with the girls, and the young one, she might actually be 3. I get that mixed up. That's my fault. But anyhow, she's a little baby. And we're sitting on the couch, and she has an iPod that she plays. You know, she has games on her iPod. And she was, you know, sitting down, and she was saying, you know, what should I play? What game should I play? So I'm sitting next to the little one, and the big one's sitting next to her older sister. So she's scrolling through these pictures of this game, and they're all pictures of like white girls. It's animated, kind of look like a Barbie or something like that, some blonde white girl or whatever. And you know, I don't know if it was like you make her up or what the game was exactly. There was one picture where she had like a mask or something on her face. It was like something kind of brown on her face or whatever. So anyhow, I'm looking at, you know, all these pictures she's scrolling through, and I was like, are there any black ladies in that game? And she said, no. And her sister tried to say, yes, it is. And the little girl, the baby, pointed out, no, the picture with the mask on her face. She said, that's just something that gets her face clean. She's not black, she's white. So she was immediately on it. So I'm looking like, I said, well, do you think that you would like to play a game with white ladies in it or black ladies? And she said, I like this game, you know, with white ladies. And I was like, okay. I started getting a real sick feeling. I'm sure you can imagine. So I asked her, I said, well, do you think that white ladies are prettier or do you think black ladies are prettier? And she looked at me and she hesitated. She really didn't want to answer. I could tell like she didn't want to say the wrong thing to me. But, you know, I was like, I tried to, you know, take all judgment out of it. And I just like, you know, no, whichever one, you know, do you think it's white ladies that are prettier or do you think it's black ladies that are prettier? Just asking like a regular question. And she put her little lips together like she was going to say white, but she didn't say it. So I said, you think white ladies? And she shook her head, yeah. I was like, oh, God. You know, and so then she looked at herself for a second. She looked down at her hand, and she's light-skinned. She looked down at her hand, and she looked at me, and she said, am I white? Imagine how crushed I was, black family, when I had to tell this little girl who just informed me that white ladies are prettier than black ladies, and she wasn't sure if she was white or black, and I have to tell her she's black, the group of people she does not associate with being more beautiful. I'm heartbroken, okay? So I'm like, baby, you are black, and you are more beautiful than any white lady will ever be. I said, you're always going to be black, because I remember one of my younger siblings saying, you know, when they were young, they thought, you know, kids have these notions when they're very young. They thought that they turned white when they got older, like you just had a choice. You could be one or the other at some point. So I made sure to cover that ground. You know, no, you're always going to be a beautiful black lady. I said, right now you're a beautiful black princess, and when you get older, you're going to grow up and you're going to be a beautiful black queen, and you're always going to be pretty. And I always try to tell her that, but, you know, I'm not her mother. So, you know, she's being influenced by things that I don't have any control over and that are not necessarily conscious or loving, obviously, of Africanness and African beauty. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, man, like, it hurt me to my heart to see that she had to go through this. Now, her older sister is hearing all of this. And so I, you know, I talked to her like, you know, do you see, you know, where it's important to, I tried to tell her, you know, some things or whatever, but I'm just heartbroken. So I'm like, you know, their mom wasn't home, and I was like, I'm going to have to talk to their mother, who, again, is not conscious. And so I left it alone for a little bit. I was going to try to see my cousin face-to-face and have this talk, but we weren't able to catch up with each other. So finally we talked on the phone, and I was like, you know, we got to talk, girl. You know, did the girls tell you? I asked her if the older one told her about the conversation. And she said, yes, she did. And she turned at me, or turned on me, really, and was like, well, what did you ask her that for? Like, what were questioning me as though I had done something wrong. So I made sure to relay the story to her just like I just told, you know, exactly how it happened, because I'm not sure how the older one may have put it, just so she understood. But I was faced with a situation where I have to approach this tactfully and in the best way possible. I could have gotten my feelings back with her and been like, well, wait a minute, you know what I'm saying? I'm not the one that's wrong for, you know, trying to tell her that she's black and she's beautiful and why she didn't know that. I could have went all kinds of ways with it, you know what I'm saying? But I had to stop real fast, jump out of my emotions, and try to speak to her in a way to where ultimately I'd still be able to have a relationship with these girls. I'd still be able to have a comfortable relationship with her. So, you know, I put it to her like this. I was like, oh, listen, she kind of didn't even have a choice in thinking that, you know. On TV, all the white ladies are pretty. You know, she's had a white babysitter when she was very young. You know, she didn't really have a choice. I mean, we learned the same thing, and nobody came outright and told us, so I put myself in it. I wasn't like, you shoulda, you coulda, you didn't. You know, I tried to keep it real even and just tell her lightly what I thought. So it was a very difficult conversation to have, seeing it go that direction and knowing how good and loving my intentions are for these babies, and how I would put somebody in the ground and sit in jail for it if anybody did anything to these girls. And she's going to come at me that way. But I had to remember I want to still be able to influence them and be in their lives, So there was a certain way I had to talk to their mother in order to try to smooth it out. And by the end, she was bringing up the fact that, well, yeah, she likes, white lady's hair because it's long and pretty, and I wear my hair long, she wears weaves or whatever. So she brought that up. I didn't. So it at least was an open enough conversation for her to even begin to acknowledge some things on her own. So it just taught me something. It taught me a lesson. I wish I could say I handle everything that comes along that way as good or with the same amount of tact and with, as little emotionalism as possible. I don't, though. I don't always handle it that way. And coming across some quote-unquote conscious people, because if you've heard my show before, I have mentioned to people or mentioned on the show what I feel consciousness is. I don't feel that consciousness is just knowing a body of information. I feel being conscious is being aware of what's going on around you, what's going on in you, and why you do the things that you do. I believe all of that is consciousness. So I think that all of us, once we do come into a certain amount of understanding about things and you begin to understand, realize, and accept the fact that you're African, at that point, you're growing and you really do have something that you have to offer other Black people. You just do, because everybody doesn't know this. And everybody needs to know it to a degree. Everybody can't handle things on the same level. But if you're approaching things, you're approaching people, you're living your life like you don't have anything to offer anyone else, then what's your purpose for being here? What's your purpose for knowing all these, all these great bits of information, and the government does this and slavery did that and racism, white supremacy, and all these, what becomes catchphrases after a while? What's the point in knowing all of that stuff if you're not going to help somebody with it? I don't agree with that. At a certain point, what you're learning should be affecting who you are and the way you live your life. It should be applying something more to you, and you're applying this stuff to you and your day-to-day activities, and then you have something you can kind of offer to somebody else. But what I find in this quote-unquote conscious community is a bunch of clueless people who really have other agendas, it seems, and none of those agendas seem to be, dealing with their issues or curtailing some of their behaviors in a particular way for African liberation. I'm not seeing that as much as I wish I could. Now, by all means, I'm not saying I'm perfect. Let's get that out there and very clear, because I'm not. I have observed things, and I'm working on me just like everybody else hopefully is too. So I don't want to come off like, I'm just telling everybody what they need to do. It's not really about that. But if we can help each other, and again, like every show, I really hope, as many people that can call in and interact on this show, I really hope that you do that, because I need to hear other people's opinions also. If you feel like I'm off base, or I'm wrong, or I got something a little twisted, or you feel differently, please call me up. Call me on it. The number for the show, if you do want to do that, is 760-569-7676. Access code is 948-656#. Again, 760-569-7676. 948-656# is the code to get into the show. So I wanted to talk about that today, and some of the things that I have run across, and some of the things that we all run across, possibly. And just to start off, some things I thought about when dealing with people is we all have to at least understand what all people need, just across the board, what people need. First thing, people want love and they want acceptance. That's just what it is. Now, every person you meet on the street, you're not going to be able to absolutely just like love them and maybe give them affection and just all kinds of things on the deepest of levels. But this is what people are looking for. They're looking for friendliness. Can you crack a smile ever in public? And I've heard some differing views, which we can get into a little bit later on, as far as smiling and being all smiley and all that. I don't want it to get twisted up. But people do need friendliness. People need their basic needs met. They need to eat. They need shelter. They need clothing. You know, people, that's just, it's not rocket science. People just need those things. And people need someone to listen and validate them. Just because they deserve it, just because they are a black person, they deserve that. Somebody to listen and validate them. Of course, you can get too needy and too, you need too much from other people, but still it's a valid need to be validated. People want to be understood, and people want to be empowered. Now, that being said, many, and I would say countless black people that we run across have had or do have some dealings with Christianity. And to say it real simple, countless black people are Christians. They just are. That's what their grandmama was. That's what their mama was. That's what, the aunties and uncles and, our people are dealing with Christianity. Now, we understand that there are certain flaws with many teachings of Christianity. Of course, we understand that. But should these people be completely forgotten and discarded? And if not, shouldn't we come up with a way where we can interact with these people and still give them something good that we have to offer, where they will not be turned off from what we say and be more willing to listen the second time, if there's a second time, being able to have a conversation with them? Now, I'm not saying, we should all, have a love fest. I'm not saying we should all, go to church or whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that necessarily. But I'm saying it's difficult for a person who has good feelings toward Christianity and even Jesus to listen to the good things you have to offer. And we have good things to offer. Again, if you destroy completely their spiritual beliefs upon contact, you just, how you doing, sister? Jesus was never real, and just, the church has just been, destroying you from birth. And if you start with that, there's a good chance that person has checked out on you. As soon as you start saying that. Not that you're all the way wrong with what you're saying, but it's a lot to take in all at one time. First things first, I'm meeting you. How you doing? My name is YaaYaa, and you are, it's so nice to meet you. Let me begin by first destroying everything you ever thought was good. And then we'll go from there and see what happens. I just don't know the good response you might get back from that. And if our purpose, again, is to give what we have to put ourselves in the best position to do that and to be heard and to be understood, because we want the same thing that everybody else wants. So I think, let me see. I was speaking with Brother Laila about this topic, especially Christianity. And Brother Laila, did you want to share with the people the story you shared with me? I thought this was a great case in point for what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I do I believe this was sometime late part of last week, that I had an interaction with a lady that works out at one of the local food courts. I went in to get dinner. It was just a casual. I go in there quite often, as a matter of fact. So she's familiar with what I usually eat. And what I usually order is a vegetable plate, and I guess that had been going on for long enough for her to build an expectation for me to be ordering another vegetable plate that day. And what actually happened was I was feeling the urge for some of the honey barbecue chicken wings that I knew I ought not to be eating. But I went ahead and ordered them, and what the lady started to say, as a matter of fact, she went ahead and started in with the scripture that goes something like, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. So I recognize that my from my history, so to speak, with the Christian church, and I immediately felt myself irritated. And there's that, a lot goes into that, but it's not really, that'll get away from the point of the story. So I'll just say that I had to find a way. I put on a smile immediately to try to deal with myself, I suppose, and what I was feeling. And I didn't go in on her about my disagreement to quoting scriptures. I just have developed a distaste for hearing scriptures through understanding where Christianity has come from and my viewpoint now. But somehow, and since YaaYaa, you helped me see that somehow through what I'm learning, and I will say through the reactivation process, you helped me see that what I'm apparently learning is that it would be of no use to act on that urge that I had to go in on this lady about what I learned about history and how Christianity did things to me, and basically vent my hurt. So the interesting thing, as you pointed that out to me, was that it came kind of automatically. So we had a general interaction. I tried to handle the situation delicately, and I think what I mentioned was I think I only brought up that I do try nowadays. I let her know that I can relate to what she's saying, and I just try these days to remember the connection of those original teachings, the connection to Africa and traditional Africa, and that's what's important to me these days. And this lady is handling my food, so there's no need to get anything uncomfortable in terms of a relationship. So that was the story that I think went better than I felt it did. So that was the story.
Yeah, and I think that was a good case in point to me, because it could have been handled so many different ways. You could have, like you said, went in on her like, oh, did you know the Bible was just a ploy of the white man to, check out. She's just going to probably, give you the blank stare and nice smile, and just be like, this dude is crazy, and he just went off on some crazy stuff I don't know anything about. And you lose, not that that's even wrong, the information you could have said, but you lose her as an audience. She can't relate to you anymore because you're somewhere way different from her. And that's not your point. Your point is to be able to still have a decent interaction with this lady when you see her again, because you're going to see her again, and you made a very key point. She's putting food on a plate for you to eat, and she has all the control in the world of what could go along with that food. So I think it was a smart move, but even more than the food aspect, you wanted it to still be a relatable, a connection with this person. And that is what I feel should be important when we're dealing with each other. We should be able to have some kind of connection on a very base level. So if you meet somebody and they're going through something and they kind of let you know, we know how to pick up subtle cues a lot of times. They're going through something, but all you want to do is talk about, the white man this and all these, and Africa that, all they hear is their need screaming out to them. They're going to hear you hardly at all behind the noise, the sound of their need screaming out. And rightfully so. Because who are we to deny the fact that this person needs something that I could possibly give them? Somebody's hungry, and you say, oh, that's a shame. But let me sit down and talk to you about the Honorable Marcus Garvey and his movement. And they're going to look at you like, or you start talking about how the white man is the devil, they're going to kind of equate you with the devil. Like, why are you going to sit here and try to pretend to be my brother and call me brother, call me sister? And you you look like you haven't missed a meal your entire life. And I just told you I'm hungry, and that doesn't matter to you. We need to be more relatable. Before I get too far into that, though, on the Christianity topic, I think it's important for us to see that Christianity is doing something for our people. We're not just head over heels in love with Jesus for no reason at all. And there's the Jesus aspect. There's the church aspect, which is, a weekly ritual, basically, that people are doing. There's something that we're getting out of it, or else so many of us wouldn't be doing it. And some of the things that I came up with that Christianity is doing for Black people, it gives us comfort. Like, you have a rough week, you get to come around all these people who are like you, and I kind of hate to use the word fellowship, or maybe like communion, like-minded people. It feels loving. It feels kind of like a family reunion sometimes. And there are different kinds of churches and different things you're going to find in different churches, but there are good things you can find in some churches. But you're getting that acceptance need filled. Spirituality. We are by nature spiritual people. There are some things spiritual that people are getting out of church. They just are. To say it very simply, I don't want to get deep, and that's what a lot of this whole discussion, this whole topic is about. But spirituality, you get a connection with something bigger and vaster than just you, the individual by yourself. And we are really getting that with Christianity in some aspects. And along with that spirituality is something that I learned when I was in the church called discernment. Discernment, it can be just like a very churchy sounding term, but it's really like spiritual judgment and understanding. It's being able to use spirituality, being able to use, really it's your melanin to pick up things that are not physically seen or heard. So I can meet somebody and just get a feeling about them, or pick up something about them, or pick up something about a situation that I'm in. And I can't readily identify, I don't know the metaphysical terms on purpose for what all I'm saying, that I think people can feel me. There's something that just spiritually you just know. And especially women, they call it our intuition. It's just, you just can pick it up. That's something spiritual and something that I know I learned about and picked up at church. So it's doing something. To some degree, in some cases, you're getting some morality out of being a Christian. Some discipline even, sometimes, from Christianity. And this may sound strange, but this always stuck with me. I always heard Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to about 2 p.m. is the most segregated time in America. I think that's something for us to look at. We're getting to be around a lot of Black people in a lot of cases in church. There's something spiritual, period, about being in a room full of African people. Now, if they're all homosexuals, of course, we got problems with that. But being around a bunch of Black people is going to do something for you. The church can meet basic needs. I know several churches that feed people that are hungry, no questions asked. You can't pay your light bill, you're about to get kicked out. I've experienced this. About to get kicked out. I wasn't even going to this church at this particular time. I needed some money. I needed a little bit of help. I went to this church, and they gave me some money. They didn't ask for it back. They asked for something very small that I could do. It wasn't monetary, and I didn't mind doing it, and that was fine. It wasn't. I didn't feel like I was being, getting got by them. It wasn't like oh yeah, well, we won't do it if you don't this. If I had said no, I'm sorry, I can't do that, they would have still given me the money, and I know it for sure. Then there are some not so good things. Okay, music too. And I just have to say this. I'm a very musical person. I did come up in the church, and there's something, I'm not going to go deep into a lot of things, but there's something about what you get out of the music in church. And I think it's sad that a lot of us choosing to not be in the church, there's something that we're actually missing that you're not going to find in a lot of other music that was very spiritual and very African. Don't have to be about Jesus, but very African about the music we were getting in church, and it did something for us. I just think that that's true. But then some of the not so good things that we're getting from Christianity, escapism, which is basically a vacation from reality. I'll get into that a little bit deeper in a second. You get miracles. Church and Christianity teaches you that you can have change immediately with no struggle, no process, no hard work, that's perpetual that you just have to stay on top of and keep plugging away at. No, you can just have a moment and say, oh, I'm healed. I didn't have to start eating better. I didn't have to start exercising or anything. Everything's just gone. That is, I tend to not cuss on this show, so I'll just say that is BS. That is not necessarily true. You have to do something. And then abuse. We've talked about it so much, but Black people have gone through so much abuse just by virtue because we're Black and being in the society, we've been abused for being Black. So Christianity feeds that there's something wrong with me. So if I've been abused, I have validation and justification now for being abused and for what has happened to me. The church is telling me, I'm a wretched sinner, and I'm just, you were a born sinner, and just all the worst things in the world you could actually tell a person, and then that leads to self-hatred. So that's what Christianity is doing for people, I believe. And if you have more, or you disagree with some of those things, or you take issue with what I'm saying, please call me. Please call the show, and let's talk. Let's discuss it, because we're all. I don't want us to miss the fact that there are good people sitting in churches, and there are reasons why, and they do need to hear what we have to say, but we have to package it sometimes in the right way, and that's just like anything else. You have to use tact with what you're doing. So one thing that I definitely have a problem with in this quote-unquote conscious community is these super-duper deep people, like those people who live on Sirius B, or on Saturn somewhere, and they just really don't understand the plight of Earthlings. That's a problem we need to look at, and that in itself is escapism. People who only want to be that deep and in the clouds all the time, they're attempting to escape the reality the rest of us live in. So you're just better now. You just don't even have to really be with us anymore, huh? You just get to just be in vibrations and in chakras and frequencies, and not have to deal with light bills and relationships and what has happened to you as a child. You don't have to deal with none of that, huh? The rest of us, though, that's real life, is my point. And there's another point that I want to make, and I hope I'm heard, because a lot of things have been said on this show, and of course we know War on the Horizon takes a particular stance on a lot of things, and sometimes a very, very harsh stance, and rightfully so. And I myself have said, you need to deal with your anger and who you're really mad at, and be mad. You're rightfully able to be mad at them. That's righteous rage. I got you. If all you know, though, is hatred and violence, if the only thing you know how to do is hate, do you see how that can get in the way of you being able to deal with love and acceptance? How maybe you might have problems with relationships, or how you may have problems accepting love from people, giving love to people, recognizing love and acceptance when it's around you. That can start to eat away at you. Now, I'm not saying, stop being mad. We have everything to be mad at. I got you. Somebody said to me, what do we have to smile about? Okay, we've been done very wrong. But in this life, don't we talk about balance a lot? You can't be ice grilling, hateful all the time. Really? You can't, like I said, you can't crack a smile at anybody ever when you're walking down the street. Everything is just, everything is death and destruction. There's no room for a smile for any black person you run across. There's no room for niceness ever. That's a problem to me. Let me know if you think I'm wrong, but that's a problem to me. And it shows in different ways when we deal with people, when you meet somebody, because when a person is relatable, when you can relate to other people, you actually care about the things that they're talking about and what they're going through. When you're just, on what you're talking about, first of all, that's very selfish, and people can pick that up. And I know I have run across people, and, you talk to them, and you're like, in your mind, you're thinking, they have no earthly idea where I'm coming from. And you can just tell. Like, when you're so deep and you're trying to check out of reality, that makes people feel alienated, and it makes them not want to trust you because you don't come off as a person like them. And you don't have to be exactly like a person, of course, but people want to feel like they can relate to you. We're looking for connections here is what I'm getting at. And then if what you know is so good and important, it should be able to help a person in their life and in their situation. How can you apply what you're talking about and actually see results? Like, okay, so, we got to operate on a higher vibration and raise our frequencies. Again, how is your frequency, how can you translate that into your regular everyday life and the walls that you bump into constantly in your life? And tell me, and if somebody can explain to me better how I can literally explain to a 5-year-old or a person who's just not there, they're not used to dealing with very intellectual things about frequencies, and you can make it easy, holler at me. I can't understand it. Don't get me wrong, I can understand things, and I can get deep, and I can get real intellectual. But at the end of the day, like the way I put it is, I have to float on down, get out the sky, float back down, and put my feet on the ground and realize, okay, well, now I got to eat. Where's the money coming from? Or now I got to deal with this family member who I generally have problems with, but I really love them, and they don't understand yet, and so I'm working with them because I feel like if you're on a certain level, you have to act like it. If you know better than somebody else, you have to act like that. We're teachers. You have to teach people, and so that means you have to get on a certain level and see what will work best for them. And if you're not on that level yet, get there. What are you playing for? What's the purpose of knowing all this great stuff and all these lectures and all this stuff if you're not willing to help anybody? Get out the way. Nobody's trying to hear that all the time. That's how I feel. So if you're trying to live in reality and not be an escapist, that means that you have to keep your reality at the forefront when you're approaching anything and anyone. Meaning, I'm all about ideals. That's great. We should be in all these great places, and it should be like this, and it'd be best if it was that. My thing is, what's real? Not ideal, but what's real right now? Because you're not going to get to ideal until you can deal with real and figure out why you are where you are. Be where you are. Figure out what all is going on with you now. Be real about that. Don't try to hide it because it's never going to go anywhere if you act like it's not there and you don't want to deal with it. I'm pretty sure we've touched on that in some other shows that we've talked about. But, so it's about results. So it's difficult, but there's a lot of ways that this consciousness or conscious people or whatever they want to call themselves are just like Christians. And sometimes we get sucked in and don't realize when we're becoming conscious Christians, or however you want to put it, you know what I'm saying? We don't realize it because we are actually more steeped in Christianity than we know in a lot of these ways that are not helpful for us. Like, one problem I have is when we have a black leader, and they're very few and far between, but there's somebody, that's out there that's really working, and people see them. When you make that person, they can't ever disagree with you or anyone. They can't have any faults. They can't have any flaws at all. You've created another Jesus. You want some perfect being to come from the sky only, to not have any real people problems. That's just not realistic. Stop creating Jesuses and talking about Christianity is bad. Like, you can't do both. And this is another, this is kind of getting into, I don't know, let's see. Another thing, too, before I get off this subject, I'm trying to keep my thoughts together here, is in consciousness, again, we use escapism like Christians use escapism. I can go and I can get all into heaven, and life can be all about heaven and going to heaven, that I never have to deal with what's really going on, what problems I'm facing, what issues I have I don't want to deal with. It's the same thing. I'd rather talk about, metaphysics all the time, and I don't want to deal with anything real. Like last week, we have to get a grip on it. And I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I'm really not. But it disturbs me when I see it and people think they're really deep and they think that they really need to be heard with this garbage that helps nobody, but it helps them look like real smart and real powerful, like they're the next best thing coming. But nobody's helped with that. So we got to get a handle on it and know. And even mass mega hatred, it influences our interactions with each other. And my question is, with Christians, a question to ask yourself: are you just looking for black people to take out your anger and aggression on? And I think that's a very real question you have to ask yourself as a conscious person who says that they love African people. If you're just constantly trying to tear down Christians all the time, it behooves you to see what is behind that. And what you're really dealing with, what you're really working with, and why. So then you can get somewhere. And another thing is about Christianity. We have to come up with something. You cannot completely destroy someone's spiritual belief and expect that they're going to feel good about hearing the rest of what you have to say. It's just not realistic, and it doesn't feel good. And, of course, everything's not going to feel good to us. But the purpose is to get our message out. So I'll say that. So, Sister Shabazz, I want to kind of stop right there for a second and see, how are you this evening before I go further?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Is there anybody that maybe we can go to on the line to see if they have anything to say or to add to how we can better reach people and be more relatable?
Sure. First call, 8518. You're live on War on the Horizon. 8518. Okay, I'm going to assume they're just listening in. 0222, you're live. 0222. All right. 5851, you're live on War on the Horizon. 5851. Okay, 9073, you're live.
I'm just listening, sister.
Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you, brother.
All right, that's all the calls that we have for now.
Okay. All right. Well, I tried to come up with some kind of solution. And it's just a few. So if somebody has any, and of course, Mr. Shabazz, if you have anything to offer, to add, to ask, to question, whatever, of course we welcome that. But one suggestion I have as far as being relatable and being able to connect with somebody on a real level is deal with your stuff. I say it all the time, but it's on purpose. When you can see you clearly, you can see others and what they're dealing with more clearly. You gain discernment. You are able to judge better what somebody's going through because you've delved into yours and you have personal experience with it. And that makes people feel more comfortable around you. So that's one suggestion I have. Really consider sitting down, getting a journal, sorting through things maybe that you don't understand, get some help where needed, call somebody, talk to somebody about what's going on with you, air the things that you don't really want anybody to know about you because 9 times out of 10, another person is dealing with that. Of course, somebody you trust, not a complete stranger, not just somebody you meet on the street. Somebody you trust that you know will be honest and real with you back. And just say, listen, I think this is real weird. I wish that I wasn't this way. but I'm going through this, and this, or I've always felt this, and this. Isn't that messed up? Or however you got to say it to just get it out. Run it past somebody else. That'll automatically give you a connection with another person and possibly up your ability to trust someone else, which will carry over into your dealings with the next person that you meet. Another thing that I think is huge, see and understand your anger so you can keep it out of your dealing with innocent people. Because sometimes our anger is just misery, and misery loves company. So when you meet somebody, you're willing to give them all your anger and take out all this anger and aggression on another black person, and they don't really deserve that, first of all. And one thing about anger that I've noticed is it can make you just want to do the opposite of whoever you're angry at. Or whatever you're mad at, you just want to do the exact opposite of whatever they're doing. But that doesn't mean that you're thinking clearly about what's going on. And it doesn't mean you're making good decisions for you and those you love. You're just acting out of emotion and hurt, which is real, okay, but you got to move from that. You can't just say, well, if the church does this, then we're just going to not do that at all. The church is feeding homeless people. We hate feeding homeless people. We do not do that. Or the church is getting money to open a facility, so if you don't have anywhere to sleep at night, then you can go to this church and you can sleep there. I hate the church. I hate letting people have some place to sleep, innocent black people that couldn't pay their bills. I just think they should sleep on the street because the church is doing that. And it's, come on now. It's got to be a limit to the madness. We have to learn how to kind of form our anger and channel it in beneficial ways. So do what will work for you. Do what will put some money in your pocket with your anger. Get your anger out, but don't make other people pay that don't deserve to pay for this anger you rightfully have. And another thing, Sister Shabazz, one thing I really appreciated after I thought of it in your book, God's gift was righteous deception. First, I was like, we shouldn't have to use deception. Like, that's messed up. You know, that's not the ideal. Mm-hmm. But that's real. And when you deal with people, like I said, if you know better than them, you kind of have to do whatever it takes to help them. And sometimes it's in the form of righteous deception. You just have to do kind of in slick ways things to help them over time. You just have to be more mature and able to see that this person needs help. And, okay, they may not listen to me a certain way. I might have to twist a couple things up just so they'll listen. Because at the end of the day, you're not trying to hurt them. You're trying to help them. So those were my suggestions. I don't think they were real deep. What do you think, Sister Shabazz? Do you have anything you want to add or subtract or what?
I'd say the one thing that I've learned is the golden rule: treat people how you want to be treated. Some situations where people are kind of forcing their beliefs down your throat, you may need to address it. But sometimes we are the ones who start it. Like, everybody doesn't necessarily want or need to hear our philosophies. I learned that being a Muslim. Everybody don't want to hear what I have to say and what my beliefs are. So, if you're asked for something, then you can give it. But if nobody's asking you, then they probably don't necessarily want that. If it's like a purely religious thing. Now, if it's some kind of self-hate or something like that, then definitely I'd probably try to give them something to think about. If I hear somebody using the N-word or something like that, I might try to tactfully, say, well, why do you think it's okay to say that? And, give a couple examples. But, I don't make a habit of doing that all the time because not everybody wants to hear it. So make sure that somebody's even open before you start going in, so to speak.
That's true. That's true. And I think that is a good point. And another thing I learned first in church was the golden rules. Everything that comes out of church is not all bad. That's true. Why would you expect to treat somebody differently than you want to be treated? And then you're going to wonder why they're not treating you, the way that you like. And I think we just take people for granted so much. It's a good point you make about making sure that a person is open. So you brought up self-hatred, right, Sister Shabazz?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go about dealing with somebody when you notice them in a situation of self-hatred? Like, do you have an example for that? Or is it like clothes or hair, or how do you see that playing out?
It depends. Usually the hair thing, I tend to leave alone unless it's something that, is like really pressing, which usually it's not. People are at different stages of consciousness, and, some of us with natural hair, our minds are not right. So it's kind of hard to talk about somebody with a perm when I've seen it all coming from people with afros and locks.
That's true.
I'll say something, maybe if I hear somebody saying the N word, because ever since I stopped using it, that irks me a little bit. So I might ask them, why do they feel the need to use that? Do you really think that that's, who you are? What other nationalities do that? Do you see, Jews saying, hey, what's up, my kike? Or, Mexicans saying, what's up, wetback? How you doing? We're the only ones that do that. And try to make it make sense to them, not in an accusatory way, but more like, you're better than that. Don't accept that title. I try not to be negative, because I've noticed that with the conscious community is we try to raise our self-esteem by lowering other people and making it seem like we know everything and everybody else is beneath us. So I try not to do that. Like yesterday, at the War on the Horizon lecture and book signing, somebody looked down at my toes, and I don't paint my fingernails, but I do paint my toenails if I'm wearing sandals or something. And she's like, is that a natural fingernail polish? And I'm like, actually, yeah, it is. Well, it better be, because, those chemicals do this and this and this. And I'm like, sister, I didn't ask you all that. I'm just trying to look presentable for my book signing. I mean, she went so far as to tell me, if a man don't like my toes, then I don't need them. And I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
Do you want your book signed, or do you want to go on ahead somewhere?
Okay.
So, I mean, we can just be very, very overbearing sometimes. So I just try to keep that in mind, that nobody really wants to hear that. Sometimes people are just trying to enjoy themselves, and it's okay to let them do that.
Right.
Somebody else did just call in. Do you want to see if they're just listening in or if they have a comment?
Absolutely.
Okay. 9763, you're live.
Yeah, I just caught the topic, so I'm just listening right now. Maybe within the hour I might have a comment, but I just want to listen in for a moment. Thank you, though.
Bibi Fahodian. Okay. Well, we do have the Q&A line open, so anybody who have already come to, if you do have a question or comment, in the meantime, you can just hit *6 and we'll come back to you.
Absolutely. This is another question that I have, and maybe you can, somebody listening can hit the *6 and Sister Shabazz. Tell me what you think about how disagreements amongst us in the community should be handled, because other people are seeing this. Other Black people are seeing when we have disagreements amongst ourselves. How can we handle those to not turn people away, or, how can we approach that and deal with it?
Number one, I think we need to speak to each other respectfully. And I think a big thing is, we don't always have to agree on everything. Some things we do. We need to agree that homosexuality is wrong, pedophilia is wrong. We should respect Black men and women. We should respect each other. We do have some basic things that are, not up for debate. But as far as the little semantical things that we want to debate all the time and really don't matter, we don't have to agree on all that. Our people need help. We still need help. We're not that conscious that we don't need help. We're at war. Some stuff, basically, you just need to leave alone and unite on what you can unite on and just leave the rest. But if there is something, a disagreement that can be solved, just watch how you talk to people. Keep in mind that your way is not always the way. It's not always right or wrong. Sometimes there's just more than one method. And maybe somebody else might have a more effective method than you. We don't know everything. Just humility, I guess.
That's true. And humility, I think, is a big issue. I think a lot of people's egos get in the way to the point to where I think some people see themselves going too far, but their egos won't let them stop.
Mm-hmm.
So they go out and they just, I got this, and this to say. Oh, and this sounds big and bad too. I'm about to say this too. Have no means of backing it up. But don't let somebody call them on it. And, that kind of makes null and void any kind of accountability we could have amongst each other to be able to grow further and pull each other up, because nobody can tell you anything. And I have to say, I'm guilty of that sometimes. I hate to say it, but sometimes it's hard for me to hear, and I've said it before actually, it's hard for me to hear somebody tell me something. I try to keep an open mind, but, you sometimes get a little bit arrogant, honestly. But I think that's worth looking at and curtailing and realizing, like you said, we all have something to offer, and your way may not be the only way. I think that's very true.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, let's see. Okay, this was one thing that came up when Brother Layla and I were talking about the subject of relating to people and how low the term he used I liked was backsliding. So it's like conscious backsliding, and you start to do things maybe that you used to do, listen to music you kind of stop listening to. But I'll say this about hip hop. There's a reason why it's doing so well, and it's because a lot of our people like it. Right, wrong, indifferent, the reason why, the people behind it, and all of that. We are listening to it. Some of it is unfortunate how good it sounds, some of it. I think that's just true with a lot of the music that's out there. It's really unfortunate that it's possibly degenerate, but it's so catchy that a lot of our people are getting caught up by it. So how far should we go in trying to relate to people with like music? And my point in the whole matter was sometimes a lot of us are undercover listening to it anyway or doing some of those things anyway, but we just would never let anybody know it in public, or our conscious friends or whatever the case may be. We just wouldn't let people know that that's what we're dealing with. But then we look down on people when they do it. And my point was, and it may be a little bit different, it might not be popular, but if you're already doing it, why not use it to someone else's benefit? Why not relate to somebody over a Rick Ross song or some Rick Ross lyrics and make it go somewhere, though? I won't think you're any less of an African just because you know a Rick Ross song. I know some. I'm going to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? And I might know a little bit worse. Don't ask me why. I don't want to say that. But, I think that it can be used. What do you think about that? And tell me if I'm putting you too much on the spot, too, Sister Shabazz.
Oh, no, not at all. I would say, if you can use it, then use it. I'm kind of out of touch with music today. I don't listen to a lot of the degenerate rap from today. I listen to the degenerate rap from back in the day. Which,
say word.
Yeah, half the time nobody even remembers it. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask about that. But I do make an effort to introduce people to like United Front. Is probably the number one group for More on the Horizon, because it sounds so similar to what they already are accustomed to that it's not a hard switch. So even if they're still listening to the more degenerate stuff, they have something that still sounds good and it's positive. So they might put it, in the playlist at least a couple times. It's in rotation. So it just gives them something to break up the monotony. But that's probably about all I can add to that, because nobody's listening to the stuff I listen to anymore.
But you never know, though, and that could be a connecting point with somebody who's into whatever that is, that you used to listen to or, still do that may not be that popular anymore. And that's my whole point. I think that I don't want to say nothing should be unusable. Nothing should be untouchable. But I think that we should be open to being able to use whatever is around us or whatever is getting somebody. If somebody's really into that one particular thing, that's going to be an easy way for you to get at them because that's them. That's their life. That's what they're used to on a regular basis. So if you can come at them not completely demolishing what they like or what they love, but find a way to use it and kind of twist it around to something like, yeah, but did you know, United Front has this, and it really talks about, how we should love ourselves as African people. And, oh, yeah, we're African because, I just really believe in reaching people however you have to reach them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And it also makes you appear not so arrogant and not coming from a I'm better than you position, but we also have to be careful as well because you want to be the clean glass. You don't always want to reach down to somebody else's level. You do have to, because people, a lot of times when you're conscious, they kind of want you on some type of pedestal. They want to be able to look up at you. And sometimes they lose respect if you come down too far. So you may have a conversation about some rap music, and that's okay. But, don't go too far with that and be going to them, like going with them to the club or something like that. You don't want to get too far down on their level to where you lose your own credibility because you're not really practicing what you preach. I think it's a balancing act.
And, that was a lot of Brother Laila's point also was, there's got to be a point where you say, okay, I'm not going this far. And I agree with that. The club is a different. I just have to say this. Recently, I experienced this. There's a homegirl of mine. Me and her used to do church heavy together, like it's cocaine, right? We used to really be, on that Christianity stuff real deep, and we grew up together. And so obviously we've grown apart. We've gone to different places, but we do have some similarities. And so, we got to a point where we realized, we missed our friendship. And that's just something real, just a connection with somebody. I love her. She loves me. Like, we were really close. We were very, very close friends. We were like sisters. So, we decided to go out together. Like, we went out, dancing or whatever. We went to a club, and it wasn't an extra club. It wasn't, too much madness going on. It was kind of a laid back, like a grown and sexy kind of thing, like they say, But we went and had a good time. I didn't start trying to tear down Jesus from her or nothing like that. We didn't even have that conversation. We went and had an honestly good time together. She hadn't been out in a while. I hadn't had that much fun out in a while. And so now I know, when I call her, she's not, ignoring my calls or sending me the voicemail or don't want me around her kids because I said something way out the way from what she believed. Now, you spend enough time around somebody, like, the real stuff I really thought was coming out. Like, I couldn't keep everything from coming out, but I related to her on a level. That was a need she had, to just go and have fun, which is another, I think, very viable, valid need, to have fun and get out and be around people. So I'm not so anti-club as I used to be, because again, that's another selling point that I see, and a bonding point. And we're rebuilding a relationship. So that's why I say, I still kind of keep a lot of doors open,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But anyhow, I don't really like to prolong and just start having a bunch of fluff and filler. So if there's nobody else in the queue, or if anybody is on the line and wants to jump in and say something before we wrap the show up, please do so. Again, if you're listening on the phone, dial *6, and if you're not, the number, if you're just online listening, 760-569-7676, access code 948-656#. Again, we do want to hear from you if you, again, disagree, agree, have something else to add, and especially if you have examples of how you're reaching people, especially kids, because they're the ones that really are the most, I'll say, malleable, the ones that, we can reach and kind of form where they might even go before they go somewhere really bad, down a bad road before they get to a good one. If you're doing something that we need to know about, call in and just, shoot little tips out there, what we can do or what you're doing. I think we need to hear that from each other.
Somebody did just come in the queue.
All right.
All right. 8518, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Hello, how you doing there?
All right.
All right, well, I'm a young man. My name is Sarah Former. I'm out of Philadelphia. And I think a different way to communicate with people is through social media, of course. But it's been very difficult because I'm young, so I became real aggressive how I come at some of my friends. They trying to distance themselves from me sometimes.
I can relate. I can relate, brother. And I think a lot of us listening can. I didn't want to cut you off, though, if you had something else you were going to say.
No, I was just wanting to see your point of view on it.
Yeah, and it's hard because, first of all, when you come into the understanding of what's been done to us without our knowledge, it makes you mad. And you're right to even be mad and aggressive. And I feel if you push some of your friends away, it's not too late to try and reach out and get a relationship with them, because the fact of the matter is we were all somewhere before we got here. We were not conscious before we were conscious, so you can still relate to them and where they're at. And just because somebody that doesn't come to something at the same time you do doesn't make them wrong, and it doesn't make them unable to get there. So just reach out to them and just be like, I understand how it is, or however you say it and go about it. Let them know you still understand. And everybody's not going to come at the same time, or, maybe, and this, I would be real with it. I would say I might have been a little bit harsh. But you got to understand, I started to understand something I never knew before, and it pissed me off. And so I just reacted that way and came at you a particular way, and I shouldn't have done that. Because, honestly, I wasn't there at one time, too. So I shouldn't have come at you like that. And I think real people will respect real things like that coming from somebody. So I just say, be encouraged and just keep at it, because we still need friends. That's the thing. When you become conscious, it doesn't mean you become above needing friends and needing to be around people and connections. Come on. We still need each other. We still need to just be light. We need to have somebody we can just talk to about regular stuff. So that's how I feel about that. Sister Shabazz, you want to add to it?
I think that's true, especially if you're newly conscious. A lot of times when we're newly conscious, we get all this information, and we want to tell the world, and we can be very, very aggressive, overly aggressive in how we deal with it. So I definitely like the idea of making amends when you kind of went overboard, saying, my bad, that was a little much, I was being a little extra, and still keeping that relationship, because honestly, the people who have been your friends for a long time, who you can trust, are the kind of people you want to keep around. When you come into consciousness, just because you're conscious does not mean every other conscious person is going to be your friend. I mean, it sounds good, we talk a good game, but we're messed up just like everybody else. So I would not give up my core circle of friends unless it was absolutely necessary. They had just done something unspeakable. But other than that, we're all a dysfunctional family. Give each other a hug and make up, and keep that going.
That's real. Brother Layla.
I definitely agree.
Brother Layla, you want to add something to that too, for the brother?
Yeah, I would like to add that I can relate directly, brother, with what you're saying, because I'm just newly conscious, as Sister Shabazz put it, newly conscious, and there's a lot of anger and a lot of emotion. You get very passionate. It's a thing to be very passionate about. Just to speak directly to old friends, I had, a couple brothers from high school that I've just recently, like I'm talking the past 2 weeks, gotten back in touch with over the phone because of the kind of aggressive way of handling past communications with them, because of what I was learning, what I was trying to do, how I was trying to elevate my consciousness, but kind of forgetting that, even in the highest of consciousness, I am still in this life, and I need, just like a tree is rooted to the ground, it's in life and it needs the soil, so to speak. I don't know if that made any sense, but I'll come back to the point of saying, just gotten recently in touch with some old friends, and there are ways that I can relate to them, and they do still accept me because that relationship was built on something real. So that I just wanted to add that, brother, just be encouraged.
You still there, brother?
Yes, I'm still here.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you calling. Did you want to add anything else, or you have any other comments about what has been said on the show tonight?
Yes, well, I should wrote some of it down. I started losing track of what I wanted to say.
That's all right. If you think about it before we wrap up, go ahead and hit star 6 again. We appreciate you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, we have one other call in queue. 9763, you're live.
Oh, baby, for yeah.
BB Fahodier.
This brother born up here in New Haven. I'm listening to the topic, and one of the things that I strive to do, I listen to the brothers and I understand the anger. Sometimes when you learn some of this information, it does have you angry, which is, is rightfully so when you figure out that you've been, done wrong as long as we've been done. But I'll tell you, a smile beats a frown all the time, especially when dealing with the babies. What I learned over time is that, the information that I'm getting, I get, even though it's an anger, that wells up in me, I'm happy just learning the new things and learning who my enemy is. So I'm walking, I go around with a smile on my face all the time. And even though, up under that, it's some anger in there, but I'm happier knowing what's going on than not. And I think that most of the people that I deal with, they gravitate towards me because I'm happy with the knowledge that I'm getting. I feel excited when, the things that I learn on a daily basis have me excited. So when I go out, I'm out with that type of attitude, and that's the type of aura that I give off to the people. So, I think that's something that, that we need to start learning, as conscious people, is just, even if you got that anger in you, go out with a smile, because if you really getting something that's making you conscious, you should be happy about it. But, that's just... Go ahead, Queen.
No, that's real rap. That's just real talk.
Yeah, but that's how I do. I take the babies out. I take them out to like the cemetery and stuff like that, and show them, the different, like how, and I'm living in New Haven, so we got older cemeteries, older like Jew cemeteries. We got an Egyptian cemetery here. And, that's some stuff that I do. I take them out and show them the old like African. Different architecture that's out there inside the cemeteries. I think that's something that people could do that show people very easily what signs and symbols are being used, from older generations and how they went down. I think that shows the babies that you should be thinking about something African too, as at the end of these rich people's life, they was thinking about something African. Well, that's all I got to say.
I never even thought about that before. The cemetery, because you're talking symbols like the check-in, I think it's called, the obelisk.
Yeah, actual fact. Like, it's a lot of cemeteries, the older ones, they got lobster bars in there, all different type of things. And, definitely a lot of them have check-ins too.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something that I think, I do that every summer. I make sure, like, right out here in New Haven, we got like 3 large cemeteries that's full of check-ins, 20 feet tall, so you take the babies out there, they never even really understand what it is when they see, most people just ride by the outside of the cemetery, especially some of them older ones, they never even went in. So when you take them in there, you find a lot of amazing things. I bet you probably got some pyramids. Where y'all at?
Well, different places, between Texas, New York, Virginia, we get to moving around a lot.
Oh, well, you're definitely through New York, Baltimore, Philadelphia area, like Detroit area, Chicago. those older cemeteries, even in Texas, a lot of those older cemeteries, you're going to definitely see a lot of it because the Jews was all through there.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
what kind of things are you reading, brother? Like, what are you reading?
Right now I'm reading I'm reading Chester Williams. I'm reading Drusilla Dungy. That's what I'm reading right now. But I read all different type of books. I'm in New Haven, so we just read. We just study. I study mostly African scholars right now because I've been taught a lot of Caucasian history and things like that all through my upbringing. Plus, going to a couple years of college, I learned a lot of historical facts on Caucasians. But right now, I mainly deal with African scholars because that's the only thing that I can deal with.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And let me just say, I appreciate you sharing this with the babies, not just keeping it for yourself and going real deep around other people, but actually taking kids out to see that. Because when they're young, of course, that's going to make an impression on them, and those images and symbols that they see other places, they'll be able to readily identify at a young age where it came from. I just appreciate that because that's not something that I had growing up. Thank you, brother, for that.
All right, you're welcome. I grew up in the nation of God's and earth. They say teach the baby.
I know that's right.
So, that's what it is. I teach the babies. Peace, Queen. A BB for Hodie.
A BB for Hodie, brother. All right. Yeah, and that brother also made a very good point. Becoming conscious, we can learn a lot of things that make us angry, but you're not learning anything that makes you feel good about yourself. Learning about Africa doesn't make you feel good at all. Like, there is something to smile about. He put it out there, It's better, one, knowing than not knowing after you've gone not knowing for so long. But, just being able to see the good in what you're learning on as well as the bad. Again, that's balance. So, really appreciate that. And that's a good point for us to remember. Sister Shabazz, we have anybody else before we wrap up?
It looks like that's it for now. Oh, wait. Okay, somebody, last minute. Hold on.
Ow.
9073, you're live.
Oh, Abibi Faudi, sisters.
Abibi Faudi.
For me, one thing I've found is how you can reach people. Our people is to really listen when you're talking to them. I mean, normally when we are so-called conscious people, we don't listen to them. We just want to give them the information and try to convince them that the white man is the devil, that we need to do for ourselves. But the people, they have their own issues. So most of the time, I really being empathic, just listen to them, make them feel that they are being understood. You know what I'm saying? So most of the time, what I mostly do is during those kind of conversation, you just interject some kind of information during the conversation. So if you see the person is open to those kind of information, you just you continue to give the information. Sometimes the person is ready, and then the person is open, and you give the information you have to give. If you see the person is not open yet, you still listen. You still be empathic to the person, and then in the course of this relationship, you will see the person will open, and then sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. But sometimes we just have to listen to the people and then see what their issues are, and then that's how I relate to our people. That's what I wanted to say.
I like that, brother, though, because that's practical, and it's something you can do in an interaction with somebody. You said just interject something here and there, and actually pay attention and gauge if this how they're taking it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel, how I normally do it, because sometimes, they say that when the student is ready, the teacher will come, So sometimes you give the information, and if the person is ready for it, you see the person will react to it immediately. Sometimes the person is not ready. You just continue to speak. You just continue to follow, to listen to the person, and then but then you wait, and sometimes you give another small amount of information, and you see how the person reacts to it, and then maybe you convince that person. But something we have to as conscious people to understand too. We cannot, we will not, have everybody on board. Most of our people, they're not going to make it. We have to come to accept this reality and live with it. And those who are going to make it, we hope we can keep the information, and have them on board. But most of our people, they're not going to make it, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you're right. It's just reality. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. Well, good show. Thank you, sisters. I'll be with all these.
No, thank you. I'll be with all these.
And can I?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I really liked what he said. And also, I'd like to add on, when I talked about humility, we do need to listen more. But also, we have to realize that just because somebody is not conscious doesn't mean they're stupid. Sometimes I've seen people we just talk and talk and talk and talk like we're the only people that know anything. But some of these people can teach us a lot. I've been, ready to give a whole lecture to somebody. And I'm quiet for a minute. They give them some time to say something before I hit them with the lecture. And they hit me with stuff and facts and things that I had no idea about. So I like how he said to listen to people, because not only does it help you give your information better, but a lot of times if you're humble, you can learn something from people. It could be somebody that is living on the street life more than you, so they know more about what's really going on, and you have theory, but they have real life. Or it could be an elder who lived through different things, and they can tell you about how it was and things that they've observed. So we can't always go in there I know it all and let me just give it to you. Sometimes listening really, really helps.
That's so true. And one thing too, sometimes we get wrapped up in a certain kind of information, and so we feel like we have all this to offer, and to somebody who obviously doesn't know anything conscious. But I'm like you said, I'm about to school them. Just give me a second. I'm about to school. I can see it happening in front of me before I do it, and then you take for granted the fact maybe this person can teach you how to make some money in a way you never even thought of. Again, very necessary for our community. And even if they don't hear you, and this is another point I had too, just by, like the brother said, interjecting something, if they don't take it so well, you gauge that they might not be so open, they at least heard what you said, and it plants a seed. So if you keep it calm and just, still have a decent interaction with them, you may have another shot at talking again. And especially if you listen to what they say and let them know, wow, you just taught me something, that makes anybody feel good, that they had something and they gave it to somebody and it helped them out. Anybody, no matter where they are, is going to appreciate that. So, yeah, I agree.
Yes, ma'am. And we have a couple more callers. They're not in the Q&A line, but I can go to them and see if they have anything to add if you'd like me to.
Beautiful, absolutely.
All right. And if you're just listening in, just let us know that you're listening in, and we'll move to the next caller. 5209, you're live.
Yeah, how y'all doing today?
Doing all right. How you doing, brother?
I'm all right. With the previous caller, I agree with him. I'm just listening. You should have to listen. I'm newly conscious also. Since I turned 30, I've been kind of, it's like a door opening in my mind. I just started learning things, and I've come to find out that people that's conscious, you have to understand and realize that the same way you do not want, now that you consider yourself conscious, the same way you don't want someone else pushing their religion onto you, you should not push your spirituality or your philosophies onto them. And you always have to keep that in mind, because, like you said, you so anxious as if you are, they're going to, veer away. They're going to shy away. It's just going to come through one ear and not the other. And also, I like to say, when you're just talking about consciousness or telling somebody something, you're just talking. It's almost like you're spinning your tires in the snow. You just tell it. You can tell me anything and everything you want, and it doesn't matter if it's actual fact. You're just throwing this all on them at once. They're not going to listen. Maybe one person out of hundreds may listen, but for the broad, they're not going to listen. And I'll give one example. This past Friday, I was in the car with my cousin. I'm from Chicago, and we were in this shopping complex, like a outside shopping complex. And, one of my cousins going to get some food, and I was talking to my male cousin. I'm like, I want you to look outside the window. And I kind of used the Matrix analogy with him. And I asked him, do you see anything wrong with these businesses around? He's like, no, it's not wrong. So I said, you don't see the Matrix. He said, yeah, of course everybody's seen the Matrix. And I asked him, okay, look at these couple stores, five stores. And I asked him, how many of those stores you think are black owned? And he said, well, no. I said, well, Chinese store's not black owned. This store's not black owned. And it was a fried chicken place. It's popular in Chicago, Star Heroes. So yeah, that's black owned. And the other store is not black owned. So I said, okay, now look at that and look at all the other stores around. Are they black owned? And he was like, no. And I was telling him, the fortune of being black owned is because we hire our own people. That puts power in economics in our own community. And I asked him again, now look throughout the window, do you see anything wrong? And he looked, and he was like, you know what, yeah, you're right, because we're shopping at all these other stores, and we're just hurting ourselves. So comparing things that people already know, like I compared that with the movie The Matrix, almost like I was telling them, I'm pulling you out the Matrix, and I'm going to let you look at everything how it really is. So kind of tiptoe around the subject a little bit and give it to him at drops. That's my only input on this subject tonight.
That's good, though. I like that you use something that he could relate to because you knew enough about him, or whatever you said was your cousin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had a relationship with him enough to know what he could relate to. And, you just use that to just drop a little bit, something to make him think. I like that.
Yeah, because, like, the shopping area we were in, maybe one or two stores maybe was black owned. It was, like, maybe 30 or 40 something in there. And he looked with all these big stores, and he's like, you know what, you're right. He cannot say nothing against that, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
All right, now, y'all, you all take it easy this evening.
You do the thing. Actually, brother, I have a question for you real fast before you go.
Okay.
You were talking about at the beginning not pushing your philosophy on somebody. Did you experience that when you were becoming conscious, or have you experienced it since somebody conscious going too hard?
That's almost like a big story. Yes, I have a few times actually. Me myself, I've spoken with a couple of, I like to say consciousness African people. I like to say there's really no difference in between us. They're just born and raised on the continent, on the motherland. And I spoke to a few of them, I say from Ghana. And I would say, what's your name? And they would say, well, my name is Kimberly, or Ashley, or this and that. And I would think in the back of my head, like, you all got American nice names there. And they would say, well, that's my Christian name. And I'm fresh off reading the book, Destruction of Black Civilization. And I'm like, that's your Christian name. Like, well, what's your real name? They'll say their real name is their African name. Or I'll ask, how many languages do you speak? And they'll say, well, I speak English and French. And I'll say, well, do you speak any native language? Well, yeah, I speak 3 or 4 native languages. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, do you not look at your native language as a viable, legitimate language? And they'll say, well, you know what I'm talking about. Like, no, I know what you're talking about, but you have to understand. And I'm trying to tell them, kind of almost pushing the knowledge on them, and they're like, you know, sitting back or like shying away. And I'm telling you, like identify yourself with a Christian name or a European name. That's a form of Caucasianization or Arabization, you know. And I'm telling them, like, this is this, this, and this, this, and this. And they're like, you know, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. And I'm trying to open up a window in their mind, but I'm pushing in the wrong direction. You know, so it's, like I said, I'm newly conscious, and I'm more and more windows in my mind opening up, and I'm trying to tell people I have to, you know, step back a little and attack it at a different angle. Because if I just say this, they're like, well, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. Or sometimes to certain people, it may seem too far-fetched. When to you, you know what you understand, and you know how you want to say it, but you can't articulate it in a way. And just like the previous caller said, when you listen to a person, they can ask you a question, and in your mind, you know what's going on. You know, but they ask you one question, and you're like, I don't have an answer for that. I don't know how to articulate that, but I wish I could give this person my mind so they can understand what I'm trying to say, but you can't. So you have to learn and articulate how you are going to say the things that you know, or make this person understand. And sometimes it can be hard, you know. Sometimes it can be easy, but again, if the person just don't want to know, and you have to step back. You can't keep pushing it in brick wall.
That's real true. Wow. That's very, Brother Lady. Listen, that's brilliant. It really is.
Yeah.
I would say to you, brother, take your time. It's a lot to know. And if you don't know something, I think it's fair to just say, I'm not sure about that right now. But what you know that. You know what I'm saying? And add more to it. But, you know, sometimes it's hard. You see so many black people around you. You see how you've been duped. And you hate to see them go through it. So you want to take responsibility for all these people now. I know this. They all got to know. Well, just pump your brakes a little bit until you actually feel, no, I'm serious, though. And I don't mean to be, demeaning or anything like that. I hope it's not coming off that way, but don't feel like you have to take responsibility right away. Learn and actually grow and deal with, what all your learning has happened, what it's actually done to you, and you'll be in a much better position to bring somebody else along. But, I mean, you're honorable for all your intentions. I know because, you're learning and you just want to help other people. So my hat's off to you, for just being real and trying to help. That's more than a lot of people are doing who call themselves conscious.
Yeah, it's almost, well, I don't mean to take up all your time, but...
No, you good.
When Harriet Tubman said, she freed a lot of slaves, but she could have freed more if only they knew they were enslaved. And when we look at the world, okay, real conscious people may look at the world a different way. Quote unquote outside the matrix. So we looking at the world, and we may reach a couple people, but some people may not know that we are not free. And the definition of free is not the real definition of free. And right now at home, I have my library. I'm trying to build my library, and my cousins may come over. Somebody they could pick up a book out of my library, and all my books in my library is geared toward consciousness. Something you can read. Another book I've read was by Dr. Claude Anderson, Black Paper, White Wealth, and that kind of really instilled a lot of, it opened up a couple of things for them. And I picked the book, and I say, I'm not trying to push on. I just say, well, this was about that. And I said, well, yeah, okay. Put it back on the shelf. And I'll say, well, read this book about black economics. And they may reread it 3 weeks later. I ain't done reading that book. Well, just take your time and read it. I ain't done reading the book, you have to understand. It's hard. You don't want to push them to say, well, no, read the book. And if you do that, they're not going to read the book. re-engineer everything, you know, because this was forced on us in a way of I'm not going to say this word wrong, but proselytization, it was forced on us that way. It was literally forced on us. So we always have to re-engineer everything to get people to understand, like, you know what, hey, look at this. That was a immaculate conception 1,000 years before the Jesus, Joseph, and Mary. There was a story of parting of the seas before Joseph. There was a story of Cain and Abel before Cain and Abel. You know that? Oh, yeah. You know. And they really don't want to believe it. And I say, you know what? Well, these stories are in stone. It's the smallest statue of a set-seated Haru. You know, you know that. But on the Christianity, they only have paint. There's no statues. There's no stonework. But this is a stone. Did you know that? Yeah. If they don't want to learn, like the other college said, you know, we can't take everybody. Well, you're going to reach somebody, you know, so it's hard. It's very hard. So, yeah.
I think one good thing you have going for you, brother, is you seem to really care and be genuine, but because you're new in it, people who knew you before, you know, you're closer to them. So they're like, well, he was just thinking what I was thinking last year. You know, what do you think he's talking about? You know, so I could see that, you know, maybe getting your foot in the door. But like you said, that's not even going to determine it. Some people just don't want to know. And even maybe just at the time, maybe it's just like I said, a seed to be planted. And you know, you've done what you could do for that person. You move on. You keep learning, you keep growing, and you hope the next person gets it. Or maybe this person will come back to you later. You know, so that's a good thing you're doing, though. And thanks a lot for calling in, brother.
Can I make one suggestion?
Absolutely.
I haven't been listening to the show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested in knowing what other people are reading, or I'm very interested in people giving suggestions on books to read. I don't want to step outside my boundary, but can you all do like a show like that? Maybe you can call us and suggest books, or say this book is good, you know, say this book is good, and teach me about this, and the other.
Yes, sir. And thanks for that suggestion, and we're going to work on that. I think that you're right. And even I'm interested to know what other people are reading. All of us, you know, could stand to learn from that. So thank you for that brilliant suggestion. And we'll work on it. And keep listening, brother. Thanks a lot for being with us tonight.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Absolutely, you too.
All right, and hold on a second. 6762, you're live. 6762, did you have any questions or comments? Okay, sounds like they may just be listening. All right, that's all we have for now.
Okay. Wow. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for giving their tips, their comments, questions, because we all do need to, you know, iron sharpens iron, as somewhere it was said. So I think it was some sharpening going on tonight, and I appreciate everybody who's been listening to Taste of the Southwest, and even who's on the Facebook page. If you're not, Facebook page is Sister YaaYaa. That's SISTAH. Can I spell it? SISTAH. YaaYaa is YaaYaa. Definitely hit us up on Facebook, and especially if you have other suggestions for other shows. I'm willing to entertain anything. So send me something, send me a friend request. Let us know how the show is. Hopefully in a few days we'll have posted up on the Facebook the replay from tonight's show, and other shows also you can find on there. So yeah, go easy on people out there, conscious people. You know, we wanna help and not hurt. We don't want to destroy. We want to build up. So thanks a lot, everybody. Thank you, Sister Shabazz.
You're welcome.
And Yes, ma'am. And the show will be back again, not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday, where every other Sunday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Everybody have a good time until then, and love on somebody. I mean, do something good, all right? Good night.
Been searching for so long.